welcome back to Beyond the Screen, the Family Connection podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Samantha Hayes, educator, parent, and founder of Beyond the Screen Families. And today we have a special guest with us, somebody who I know actually in person, like an in-person meeting. I know her as a person who lives right near me. Today we have Erika Avina with us. And if you don't know her, because maybe you haven't met her in person, or you're not following along already, she's a mom, an entrepreneur, and a wealth guru. So everybody should just stop what you're doing and make sure you're listening now. And her day job is also in HR. So welcome to the podcast, Erika.
Hi, good morning, Samantha. Thank you so much for having me on today.
I can't wait for everybody to learn more about what you're doing and why it's so important. So today we're going to talk about financial literacy as a powerful real world skill. And you probably saw us hint at it on Instagram recently. And why teaching kids about wealth is richer than teaching them about screens. So Erika, let's kick it off. Tell us a little bit about yourself and prosperity planning.
Yes, so prosperity planning was literally born during my second maternity leave. So, as many moms are adjusting to careers, work life, and then, of course, being a new mom, the first one, I just kind of went back to work and made it work, right? But when the second one came, I just felt like my world was turned upside down. So, I literally thought, right? And then collaborated with a few friends and said, okay, how can I do something that I'm passionate about? What gets me excited to, help people and share? And then what questions do people always come to me for? And it goes back to, okay, I have worked in banking for 10 years, had some mortgage experience, had security, my investment licenses. And so all those things coming back was like, hey, if other people learned about money, created a wealth plan, then maybe they can take a full year off the next time that they have a baby. So prosperity planning literally was born from coming off of a maternity leave.
I love that. And you know what? You just said this, and I didn't really realize this about us. We both have banking backgrounds. Like there is, I'm like,
Oh my goodness.
I worked in banking for several years too. And I think that's what I love so much about your account is that what you're sharing is really targeted at all us mamas, right? All of us mamas who are like trying to create wealth and do it all, literally do it all, but then being able to do it on our schedule.
Yes. And what I have found is the standard corporate 9 to 5 just doesn't work for moms. When you have kids that go to school and school is only open from 8 to 3,
Yeah.
you then have to factor in after school programs, activities, daycare. All those things come with an additional cost. So being able to find something that, again, you're passionate about, whatever that may be, and build your business around your kids' schedule, that's really the goal.
Mm-hmm. So you did this all after coming off maternity leave. And that kind of hits on your passion area, right? Like, why are you so passionate? Because if you watch any of your Instagram stuff, you are passionate about helping families think differently about money.
Yes. So I wish, again, right? You get married, you have engagement parties, you plan weddings, all this stuff. No one along the way told me, hey, start saving for your maternity leave, right? It's just not a discussion. A lot of families don't have discussions at the dinner table around money. So if I would have just had one aunt or one uncle say, hey, before you go and spend on, these parties and these events, it would be best if you started planning for a savings account to take a whole year off. And if just one person would have poured that knowledge into me, then I would have had two very different maternity leaves.
Mm-hmm.
And so now, in hindsight, looking back, yes, I started investing because a manager at my first banking job told me about a 401k. not a family member. We bought real estate because, of course, we knew we wanted to plant ourselves in the city of Orange. And we did everything we could to save money. But again, like it wasn't family really guiding, it was things that I had to learn on my own and figure out how to budget, how to save, and how to invest. So, knowing that full circle after those maternity leaves, that's where I decided, you know what? I had to learn these things, and I've read books and listened to the podcast. And now I have an opportunity to share my knowledge and those gifts with other moms.
Yeah, that's powerful. Like sharing and making it better for others, so they don't have to go through the same thing and have the same like trials and I wish somebody would have talked about. And you and I connected specifically when we were thinking about, okay, the kid aspect, like what can we do, and what does family conversations look like? What does all of that look like when you're trying to create wealth? And not that oh my gosh, and I'm losing my word now, but that money scarcity like idea with your kids so that they then feel comfortable talking about it and everything. What age, if you're thinking about this, what age should parents start having those money conversations with kids?
Great question. So you touched on a few things. I definitely think the money mindset for parents is the first place to start. So I always recommend reading this book, The Psychology of Money, by Morgan Housel. Great book because it really helps the parents figure out where they are. And are you having those conversations with your significant other and really being on the same page on how you're going to teach your kids about money? Because let me tell you, if you are not teaching your kids, do not rely on school, culture, society. You don't want your kids to learn about money from there. So I highly recommend you work on things that are age appropriate. So when my daughters were born, we opened 529 accounts. Great way to start saving for college. And instead of getting all of these toys and too many things at Christmas and birthday, it's great to send a link out to family and just say, hey, we would love your gift to be going toward college. Uh, then you can do a piggy bank, right? So if you are getting some cash gifts, teaching your kids and showing them, you put the money in and you're saving it for later. So again, that can start from like 2 to 4, however you get gifts, and then showing your kids again, putting it away. Now, I created these 4 drawers, and it is save, spend, invest, and give. Hard to see, but it's just a little plastic. And what this has helped my 7-year-old, we started this at age 5. So if someone were to give her a $20, there's 4 drawers, $5 each. And again, it's just starting to have those conversations. For us, giving is also doing meal trains at our church when someone is having surgery or has a baby. So my kids get involved with that process, and they know that that's something that we do as a family is we gift them, another family, a meal. We also sponsor a child in Mexico. So getting that little card with the picture and showing, the age of that child, and for us being able to tell our kids, a lot of kids in other countries, they don't have all of these toys. They don't have all these Snuggies. So is there a stuffed animal or something that we can, give away so someone else can have it? And again, it's how you have those conversations. We aren't going deep into a wealth plan with our kids. We're talking about the value of money, working for money, how to save, how to spend. And again, it's all in the choices that you make, small habits over time. And so again, it's just little bits of pieces that you're pouring into your kids, but they are watching everything that you do. So kids learn, they're like sponges, they soak up everything. So your behaviors actually have already had an impact on how they view money.
So you're bringing up some things that I'm like, as a parent myself, I'm like, because my daughter like when she gets money for birthdays or whatever, and she like it burns a little hole in her pocket and she immediately wants to go spend it. I'm like, hold on, like let's really put some thought into it, like and we have this whole conversation about it. But then it's like we go someplace, she's like, can I buy this? And sometimes I'm just like, no, no. And then other times I'm like, well, you'll use up this much of your money then, right? Like, and
Yes.
then that's all you have left. But the giving portion, because we also just had a conversation about that. When you're adopting a family or whatever, are your kids taking also from their giving money, or is that something you're paying for? Like, how does that work for you? And is there giving primarily like what we do, where we're like, okay, we have an excess, and so I want you to go through your things and figure out what you can give to other people who don't have that kind of thing. Like, what does that part look like?
Yeah, we actually do both. So we have them go through toys every once in a while and pull the things out that we can donate or gift someone else. But then, like this past Christmas, we sponsored a family and they had gone through a tragedy. The mom created an Amazon gift list. I was sharing it on social media. But from that, I go back to the drawers and I tell my 7-year-old, my almost 4-year-old doesn't really participate in this yet, but
Yeah.
I'm thinking for us, it's usually around the age of 5 that they get their drawers. But the older one was able to say, like, okay, mom, what gifts are we buying? And so, of course, the Amazon account is linked to our card. So, yes, we are paying for it upfront. But then I give her the opportunity to empty out that drawer and say, okay, we're going to be spending this amount. How much do you have from that? Which again, her drawer money just comes to, our junk drawer, which you always need cash for something when kids are in school. So it's really just showing the older one that she's participating in the activity from knowing about the sponsoring the family, helping pick out the gift, and then seeing that her little giving money drawer, whether it's $5, $10, some kind of contribution went toward the activity that we're doing as a family.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense to me. So, what's the biggest mistake families are making then, when they're teaching kids about money?
Not taking the time to actually do it, right? If you're a parent that is walking through Target and every time your kid gets to buy something, just stop for a minute and think about what that effect is having on your kids long term. And I know as moms, we don't want to have the full on tantrum kids laying on the ground screaming. So there's other things you can do, like the drive up pickup. Only put the items you truly need in your cart and tell your kids we are not walking the halls because one, I don't have time and we just don't need anything. Even having conversations about wants and needs is so important because, again, they think they need that new outfit or that new doll, or this other kid has a la la boo boo. Great. I don't like the teeth in their mouth, so you're not buying one of those. Just really being, confident about your money decisions and being on the same page with your spouse and then sharing that with your children. So teaching them, being able to adjust, right? Because I have a daughter whose birthday is really close to Christmas. So, she gets tons of stuff in the month of December, but I put half of those gifts away. They get 3 gifts. That's what you're playing for the next few weeks. And then we have this area in our garage where the excess, it's like a store. But then they get to go out there and get something for good behavior, helping around the house. So there are ways to earn the gifts. But again, it's not just oh, you got 20 presents, open them all, go crazy, because they won't even play with all of them. And sometimes I find they like the Amazon boxes better than the actual gift.
Yeah. Like, yes, yes. And the gifts are often, I don't know, we find at Christmas time, even just the opening of it. My son, this was the first year that didn't happen for him, but like the opening of it is so overwhelming.
Yes.
Like there's just so much, right? Like so much of it. And then you're also sharing about like the not, every time you go to the store. I am guilty, right? Like my daughter, like when she was first born and up until like 2, I think it was, where we would go to the store and I would randomly just get her things all the time because I could.
Yes.
And then my husband's like, we really need to be conscious of this. Like, they don't need something every time they go to the store, like it is creating kids who just think that that's normal. That's not normal. It doesn't matter if we can do it or not. And then I started really thinking about it. I'm like, oh, yeah, yeah. And so we totally switched. And, now they're like, can we get this? I'm like, no.
Not today, right? Or, do you have money that you can contribute to this
Yes.
item? Or our family is working on saving towards some other financial goals right now. And that vacation we all want to go on this summer, that's where we're prioritizing putting our money toward instead of this plastic toy.
Yeah, that'll last for a week.
Yes.
So, what's the difference about teaching kids to earn money versus building wealth? Because you talk about that a lot about building wealth. You're very intentional when you say that. So, what's that difference?
Yeah, so initially, you just want to be teaching kids about the value of money, right? Money comes because you work. And a lot of families have two working parent households. And so kids have to understand that money is earned, right? And if you're a stay-at-home mom, you are doing the job of, caring for your kids. So you still have a job, taking care of your home, providing meals, all of
Mm,
those things, right? So, and a lot of people will do paying your kids for chores. If that works for you, again, you're teaching them that this job, there's some pay involved with it. Now, I don't actually pay our kids for chores. We have implemented chores as just being part of our household. So my 7-year-old is learning how to sort and do her own laundry. My 4-year-old, she's able to help load the dishwasher, right? So it's those little things of like, this is just what it takes to run our household. And we'll pay them for good grades, so you just find a way to incorporate how you want to give money, but if you can tie it to the money is earned. So again, it's whatever works for your household, but I really have found that the parents that are incorporating teaching their children about money. And if it starts with the parent first, right, you really have to hone in on what are your family values? How is your spending right now? Do your kids get to just participate in every activity, every sport, and you're just figuring it out, or you're putting some things on credit cards? Even when you think about having a Disney pass, right? Those are expensive.
mhm.
But, if you're able to budget for the pass, great. But when you're there, are you buying the meal? Are they getting a toy every time? Parking's even expensive. So it's just finding things that work for your family, but then seeing where you have that opportunity to use it as a teaching moment. And if you're going to Disney, pack a lunch, pack a snack the next time, and let your kids know that, hey, getting to come to Disney is, a luxury or a nice thing to have that a lot of families aren't able to do every week, every month. But how we're going to do something a little different is bring our snacks this next time. Or we're not going to buy a gift on this trip. If there's something you need, maybe you'll get it in your Easter basket. Really tie buying something and incorporate it into the next time they actually need it or a gift is coming anyway. So that way it's not like, hey, I need a new outfit every time there's a spirit week at school, right? How can you recycle or incorporate things you already have and then find ways to teach your kids about the value of money and how money can be earned?
Those are all good tips. I'm gonna have to like go back and watch this and like write them all down so that I don't forget them. Okay, so we talk a lot about screen time, and what do you see or do you see related to like screen usage? We are a heavy screen usage culture. How does
Yes.
that impact kids' understanding of money?
Well, again, the screens also come with all these apps. So if you are the family that allows them to have every app they want, they're connected to the Amazon store and the Google Play or the Apple store, then you've already shown them that they can purchase things at any time. I mean, I'll let our kids look in Amazon if they get to have a decision on the things we're about to buy for them, but they aren't just checking out, you know? So that's the big difference is whatever screen you are allowing them to use, make sure that you have said like, hey, these are our rules and maybe these two apps and that's all we're buying. Or, I really don't want you scrolling on YouTube because I don't know all of the content that may be out there. And generally, when we are letting them have screens, it's I'm cooking dinner, I'm working on something else. So we also will have to say, like, pause screen time, we're going for a family walk. Or we have toys in our backyard, like a swing set and a trampoline. Like, let's take a break and go outside. So we could all use more vitamin D. It's just, again, being, we have to have them in some sense. I remember thinking back, like, we're never going to bring out screens when we're out at a restaurant. And then you have two kids and you're like, okay, the coloring activity only lasted so long. So just being on the same page with your spouse on how many apps, making sure your kids can't just buy anything that they want at any time. And if you're allowing them to buy some apps, again, go back to the money conversation of what makes sense for your family. Do you want to allot them a certain amount? Do they have to ask for permission? You can have the parental control so that it notifies you of the apps that they are trying to buy, and then bring it back to a teaching moment, not only the screen time, but the money conversation.
Well, and screen time, is typically everything related to the screen is instant gratification, right? Like you get it now. And I'm thinking even of conversations I've had with my own financial advisor, right? Who's like, we're doing this for long term. So I know you're going to see it go up and down. If you look day to day, just stick with it. And so that whole idea of wealth building is not about instant gratification, not plural. What skills does investing or saving teach?
So, going back to the saving piece and investing, whenever you feel it's age appropriate to start having those conversations, but even for adults, I mean, some people don't understand the value of compounding interest. So, if you're leaving money in a liquid savings account, the value of that money is actually going down because inflation is, everything's just always more expensive. If you look at gas prices today, it's like $6 or $7 a gallon. So the benefit of teaching about investing is your money will grow faster over time. And this is more for parents, but there is something called the rule of 72. So if your investments are earning on average, the S&P 500 generates about 10% year over year, and you're in it for the long haul. So what the rule of 72 is, you divide 72 by that percentage return, right? So if your investments are going to earn 10%, your money will double every 7.2 years. So again, if the parents fully understand and grasp this, your 401k can be doing this, your IRA, any money you have in a brokerage account. And even if you're able to set up that 529 account for your kids, you don't have to know everything about picking funds. A lot of these investments have something called a target fund. And that target fund is based on either the year of your retirement, so it may be 2050 or 2060, or for the kids on the 529, it's the year that they plan on going to college. So it already provides a fund for you based on your age or when you're going to need it. So again, the investment piece is more compounding interest, teaching kids that, hey, I know you want to buy this item whether it's Nike, a new pair of shoes, you want to go to Disneyland, we buy stuff at Target. So what we have done for our littles, and it's really because my husband is always following the market. That is something I don't have time to do. I'm more like you. It's for the long haul. I automate my investments and we just let it ride. But my husband has taken it upon himself to teach our oldest more about stocks. And
Mm.
so her portfolio is the places that we shop. So she is aware of Amazon, Target, Nike, Disney, and those stocks are a part of her portfolio.
I love that. I love that. Having that conversation and just being so open and honest about it. We talk a lot about screens, and screens are primarily consumption focused. How can families shift from that consumption mindset? I mean, that's beyond the screen, right? Like even beyond the screen, our society is consumption focused for the most part. So how do we shift from that consumption mindset to that wealth building mindset?
Yes, and this may hurt some people, may offend some people, but you really have a small window to make that change because children form their own money mindset by age 7. So it's like you have to like just rip off the band-aid, right? Have a meeting with your spouse and decide like today's the day we see that we cannot continue. This little one thinks that money grows on trees, and we have probably um, helped define that belief. And so we need to come up with a game plan to start talking about money different and to maybe sit them down. And if you decide to go allowance route or build out the 4 drawers, whatever method you should decide with, I also recommend this book. It's called From Piggy Banks to Stocks by Maya Korbick. And she also has an Instagram that teaches a lot on these topics and how to have conversations with kids. But yeah, it is like something you cannot avoid. If your spending is already relying on credit cards to get you from month to month, you have to have this conversation. And the longer that you wait on addressing it and coming up with a plan to, you know, reframe how your children view money, the longer it's going to take to unbreak those habits.
So you talked and you've shown your little boxes. And I really need to do this with my daughter who's over 5. And that's when you started it because our daughters are like, my daughter's 7. And then I would like to do something like this with my 5-year-old. So can you share how you introduced that, actually got it started? So parents, everybody who's listening can be like, I am starting this now and I can follow this path.
Yes, so highly encourage you to make the box with your child, right? Because you're introducing something new. So make it be like a craft day and say, hey, I really wanted to start talking to you about money and I want you to learn some basics, right? We're not going into a full build out a budget and create a wealth plan. This is just, hey, and you have a piggy bank. Let's go through some of that money. Or if you are going to show them the example, use $20, have 4 5s, and really explain the different categories. And start simple, right? You want to make sure, and prepare yourself first. So, whether it's listening to a podcast like this one today, picking up a book, something where you feel equipped. You know your kids, right? You know what will pique their interest. So if it's shopping for that next dress, hey, instead of mom always buying it, I want to start teaching you how to think differently about money. And I've seen little ones that are getting pedicures, and that's a part of their routine. It's like, oh goodness, you can paint nails at home, make that inexpensive activity. The nail polish chips off in 2 days, anyways, right? So again, it's just reframing how you are having these conversations, what activities you are willing to spend on, and then, being able to tell your kids, we are in this consumption world where everything is instant gratification, one click away. But if your kids get access to that too early, unfortunately, you are creating in between a brat, a spoiled kid. You just want to be able to say, "Ugh, okay, we've got to do something different. I need some tools in my own toolkit to be able to start having these conversations." And like anything, right? If you've already limited some screen time and you've had to get through those conversations. I mean, I have a 4-year-old who will negotiate and say, one more show, 5 more minutes, until we just unplug the TV and say, sorry, it doesn't work anymore. So you will have challenges, but I can guarantee if you make the time to invest in having these conversations with your kids about money, saving, giving, investing, you will be so thankful. And you're really pouring into your kids. So if you didn't have this learning from your own parents and money is just not a conversation with extended family, be the one who's willing to take that step forward and pour into your kids something that you were never taught.
I love that. So if you were gonna give parents like one tip, one doable tip, I mean, besides the box, go do the box. But if you were gonna tell them like one thing you can do today, it would be,
You have to get started. So if you're, single parent and you're going to make the decision to do it, make the decision today. If you are married, have a spouse, partner, decide that you talk to them about it and say, we need to sit down and be on the same page. Because you don't want one that, again, the one parent that is the rule enforcer and the other one that lets the kids do whatever you want. You really have to be on the same page. And coming up with, is there an allowance? Is there amount? If you're out with child, do they get to buy everything? And I'm the only one holding, to the rules. We really need to be on the same page. And I think if you just did that, right? Just have the conversation. You're going to start, you're going to put something in place. That is a huge step forward. You can work on figuring out all of the other pieces later.
awesome. So where can everybody find you so that they can follow you?
Yes, you can find me on Instagram at Prosperity Planning.
All one word, smashed together, nothing in between,
I
right?
believe there's a dot, but if
Okay.
we can link it in on the
I
show
will put
notes,
it
that
there,
would be
but it's
great.
prosperity. I think prosperity dot planning, right?
Planning.
I think so.
Yes.
Okay, so I will make sure to link it in the show notes, but just in case nobody's looking at those, go find Erica. So what kind of final encouragement do you have for parents who feel overwhelmed by having this conversation? Because just like I think even with screen time, like that, the whole idea can often be super overwhelming. And so it gets avoided because of the overwhelm. So what would you say to them?
Yes, like many clients that I work on, again, with the adults and coming up with their own wealth plan, a lot of people feel overwhelmed to see their real numbers, right? Nobody really wants to open up the bank accounts or look at their true spending. So you have to just decide for yourself that you are ready to take action. And I know it could feel, shame, guilt, all of this avoidance, knowing what your debt equals, right? But if you don't do it, the cost is so much more expensive because just think your kids, they're learning from your spending. And that may, shock some people. But again, if you do not do it, then those behaviors that you have allowed and you have, provided the spending for the shopping and the things that your kids want to do, then they are now expecting that. And a lot of people live in this keeping up with the Joneses environment, right? The neighbor gets a new car, we must get this. Or I see this in the school parking lot. The new toys, the new devices. I mean, even the age that parents are allowing kids to get cell phones. It's to each its own, right? Again, I go back to what are your family values? But as soon as you go and allow them to spend just whenever they want, however they want, new phones, apps, access to buying things on their own, then again, you have poured into that behavior. And so I just encourage you to start where you are. It will feel uncomfortable, but getting through it, when you actually have learned some skills yourself, you will feel at ease, peace of mind, more prepared. You actually have the tools in place to teach your kids. And that's something they're not going to learn anywhere else except your home. So you almost have to face that fear and the unknown. But once you have the tools, you will feel so much better knowing that you are able to pour into your own kids. And again, it's like if you don't do it now, the longer that it takes you to get started, the harder it will be for your kids to unlearn those behaviors.
Good point. So start now. Let's go back to what's one small step families can take today. Start now.
Yes, get started.
Is there anything, we've talked a lot about kids and setting up that conversation and everything. Is there anything else related to the kid side of things that you feel like we missed today or didn't have a chance to discuss?
I think with the kids is your own kids, right? So you know the ones that already are going to give you pushback on these conversations. So again, just finding tools and resources so that you are well equipped and then slowly try it, right? Just say like, "Hey, we're going to the store. This is my list." Show them. We're going for these items. No one is buying anything. We're not even walking in that direction and see their response. Again, start to have little conversations about how you can give or how you can save and see their response. And then if you're like, I'm trying everything and this kid does not want to engage in conversation, then DM me and I would love to connect with you and just create a plan so that you feel more equipped to go back and try again.
Mhm. So let's touch on that too, because most of the work you do is actually with the adults. And so you're doing a lot of work with children via the adults by changing adult patterns and behaviors. Um, but can you share more about the work you do in case we have anybody who's like, ooh, I really need to connect with Erika and get some more insight into this or get some help from her?
Yeah, so I primarily work with moms, and again, that's just how my page started, but more importantly, overall families. So you can come online with your spouse if both of you really need to be on the same page. Generally, it starts with figuring out your money plan and how are you budgeting? Do you have awareness? So think like QuickBook numbers for businesses, but now this is for your own personal household. We cover the debt. How are you currently paying that off? And do you need a debt payoff plan? Most people do. There's either the snowball or the avalanche. We find ways to incorporate either one, whatever works best for your family. We touch on creating financial goals and really your money mindset, because if you weren't taught about money, you need to rethink, relearn, rewire your own mindset. And I have found that people who really create big financial goals where you are like all in, you are willing to eat at home, make those crock pot meals, eat your leftovers the next day because that financial goal means so much to you. And then we close it out talking about long-term wealth, legacy, estate planning, like all of those things, because if you don't do it today, you don't want to wait until you're older. I can't tell you how many people have had tragedies, accidents, where you rely on your significant other's income to keep your household running, and then something tragic happens. All of that is part of the prosperity plan wealth method. And I work one on one with clients to really meet them where they are and help them create their wealth plan.
Awesome. So if you need some wealth planning, you need to go find Erika. And then it'll trickle down to your children just naturally.
It sure will, because again, those new skills that you are learning, you will find ways to incorporate it into your family. And you can still have fun being outside and doing things in nature, get off the screens, but more importantly, you're building your children's money mindset.
Awesome. Thank you, Erika. At Beyond the Screen Families, we talk a lot about filling our children's time with meaningful real world skills. And learning how money works may be one of the most empowering life skills we can give them. So here's to creating more moments that stick. Bye, friends.